Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good day, wherever you are. Do you know anybody who's committed suicide? I know a few. I also know of famous people that have. And a little while ago, I watched 50 famous actors who have taken their own lives. And I was going to do, and I'm still going to do, a video, um, a different video that I had planned, and then I watched this video about the 50 actors, and it went all the way back to the 50s, and the way they did it then, mostly, is a lot different than they do it now, and the way they do it now is, basically two common ways. And just as I'm watching it, there were ones on there that I knew, and it just made my stomach hurt, and it made me upset that I could hardly eat, and I just can't fathom. I know I've tried, but obviously I didn't succeed. And just hearing some of them, and some of the ones that I know or knew, just seemed to really upset me. And the thing is they weren't all actors. Some of them are musicians and things like that, but they put them on the list anyway. And then there are ones that I knew of that they left out, and that upset me because I thought they should get recognition. And it was just a few minutes before, um, and people started commenting on it, and that so and so that they showed was still alive, and that they were just nitpicking through it all. And I guess, I don't know, it just struck a chord with me that, somebody in the comments should have told them how to get help. And I'm not talking about the people who've already done it, because, it's a little late for that. But they should have said, if you're thinking about doing it, to call the suicide helplines, or text, text or call 988 or 741 741. They shouldn't have sat there and criticized. But then again, I have the feeling that the people who were commenting don't know about those helplines. I have the feeling they just know what the general public knew. The problem, and I shouldn't say problem, the reason I'm making this video on it is some of these people in the video that committed suicide, and this was, like I said, went back to the 50s. They mentioned, I just got done eating, so it's like, I don't know, I'm feeling a little better. My stomach still hurts pretty much. But they mentioned mental problems. They mentioned bipolar. They mentioned, alcoholism. They mentioned all this. And this was from the 50s. So it's almost 2025, and you're telling me there's still the stigma? And maybe that's why they didn't mention it. And that's why the stigma still is there. Or still here. Because they didn't want to mention it. Because they didn't want anybody to know. And they mentioned that the person committed suicide. They didn't even say committed suicide. They'd say, they took their life via whatever way. I don't want to mention it because I don't want somebody to hear me mention it and say, oh yeah, that's a good idea. It may be a way that they never thought. So I don't want to put any ideas in anybody's heads. But most people who are suicidal or have suicidal ideation or passive suicidal ideation, what have you, they know of many ways. They don't need help figuring it out. They've already got it figured out. But on the other hand, there was a time that I had only a handful of ways And somehow, some way, I would hear of a way, or I would come up with a way that I had never thought of before. So there's always ways um, to do it that you've never thought of before, or that you've never heard of before. So I'm not going to be the one to plant ideas in your head. But when it's the 50s and the 60s, and they're talking about mental issues and bipolar, and I've heard of how they fixed it back then with shock treatment and things like that, because they would try to, you know, get that out of the person. I don't know how to describe it, I'm sorry. But just, it was actual torture. But when I watched this video, it just upset me. Um, Not sure why. I guess because in a lot of those that I saw, their potential was gone. They were actors and actresses. I don't know why it just says actors. This was all, it was just a shitty video altogether, but I watched it anyway, and they mentioned, like I said, ones that I had known or knew of, and they forgot some. So, and high profile ones they left out. So, like I said, in general, it was a pretty shitty video, but I watched it anyway because, I'm one of those who the curiosity gets the best of me, and there are ones that they did mention, and there are ones that were just not too long ago, and there were ones that it just I didn't even know. I'm like, oh, that person, just like I watched people who passed away 2024 to 2025. Well, it's not even 2025 yet. And it's like, and they're saying they already died. I thought that was kind of weird. But, okay. And I watched it, and I'm like, oh, I didn't even know that that person died. Um, and it was news to me. But I don't have television, and I don't listen to the radio. I watch YouTube, I watch Netflix, I watch Prime, and that's all stuff that really doesn't have any news on it. So it's usually, I'll get an email to news break. Um, I don't know what happened to my other news channel. Maybe I have it and I just don't get any notifications. Because when you have um, things like Newsbreak, you get so many notifications. It's like, it's annoying. So maybe I have it, and Smart News it's called. It's on Android. Um, it might be on iOS. I don't know because I don't have iOS, but it's probably on there too. And I just don't really. I pay attention to local news a little, not a whole lot. Only if it has to do with like really, really close to home do I pay attention. I mean, I don't even really pay attention to the towns over, but anyways, no, I just wanted to express how I felt hearing about 50 deaths, because most of them were suicides. Actually, yeah, 50 of them, all 50, were ones that took their own lives. And it's like, I don't know, it just really affected me and just gave me a stomach ache. Bad. Um, I even had to take medication to try to help my stomach, and it still hurts because it just, people who, I know I'm the one who should talk because I've tried it too, but people who've got it going so good, and they do that, and it's like, no, I don't live in their shoes. Absolutely, you know, I don't. But like I said, I think it was the fact that there were ones on there that I didn't know. I either didn't know that they died, or I know that they died, but I didn't know it was by suicide or by those means. But yeah, if you do need help, if you just feel like you can't deal with life, you can't deal with what's going on, go to the hospital. Worst case scenario, go to the hospital, call call or text 811. No, 9 no, not 911 either. I am just flustered. I'm sorry. 988 or 741 741. I believe you can call or text either one of those. But yeah, I'm still flustered by it because there are ones on there that I was like, oh my gosh, because they would tell you the means. It was so and so, and this is how. And it's like, it was a shitty video because people would comment, so and so is still alive. Why do you have him on the list? And so, like I said, it was just a bad video. But I didn't know a lot of that until afterwards, and I read the comments, and it's just like, damn, know what you're talking about, because you got people dying that aren't dying, and they're not dead in the way that you said they were. So that's kind of scary. But that's YouTube, and that's the media, and that's the news, that's any media outlet. So I just wanted to share that with you. I guess being mentally ill, as they like to put it, I guess maybe it depends how sensitive you are to watch what you watch. I never realized I was that sensitive until I watched this. And then I realized how sensitive I am. And I wouldn't have watched it if I had known. I mean, I know I'm sensitive, but I wouldn't have watched it had I known that I was that sensitive. And it also may be the time of the year where I'm suffering extra depression. That doesn't help. And, Christmas is coming up, and there's anniversaries coming up, and there's a lot of things coming up that I don't know. David and I didn't discuss yet what we're doing. I mean, our neighbor, she has her Christmas tree up, and I noticed it, and I'm like, oh, I wonder if we're putting ours up. I don't know. And him and I haven't discussed it. So I don't know what's going on. We're both kind of in la la land lately. So I am going to be doing that other video next. It'll be a little bit, so if you happen to be watching this, it's not going to be right away. It's going to be in a little while after I do this one and finish this one up. So I hope you have a good day, a good night, a good afternoon, and a good life.